Welcome all as we congregate to the greatest toy line in community, ever growing, ever changing. As we collect and adapt these figures to our own imaginations and embrace the fun, there's much to learn, especially if you're new to Mythics. Hey, welcome to another episode of New to Mythics, episode 84. I'm welcoming Jason Strasz. How are you today?
I'm great, man. And you said my last name right. Nobody ever says it right, so that's a good start.
I think I heard you say it, or I've heard someone say it, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. How you doing, man?
I'm good. Busy, but that's the season, so right.
I work at a hospital, so I get it. I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
I can't wait for it to slow down a little bit.
Right.
But, I don't know if it ever will, but
no.
I'm here. We survived Legion's Con. We made it. I was just talking to a friend. I'm like, it went by so fast.
It did. It seemed like it took forever to get here, and then
it
didn't feel like it went super fast while I was there. I wasn't like, oh God, but it's already been a month. So
it's been a month.
Yeah.
Now, did you have a plan? Well, this wasn't your first one, right?
This is my second one. I went last year.
Because I think last year I took your swig home.
You did, yes.
Yeah. That's how I met you. I was like, this is a damn fine, cool swig. And I don't remember. I don't know how I guess Terrence gave it to me or Gina.
Yeah, they must have, because the swig thing went a little bit long, and like we had to go catch a plane. So I'm like, and it was so many people in there. I'm like, well, I guess somebody can have them. So I got to go. So I couldn't get to Terrence. Let him no way to leave. So I'm like, well, somebody can enjoy them. That's cool. And then you reached out, and that was great. So
yeah, I think someone was like, well, Jason's in Michigan and Greg's in Michigan, so maybe they're neighbors. Maybe they live close by. And
not so much, but
we both shop at a Sergeant Red's, which is an amazing store.
Oh yeah,
I need to go back. But anyway, so yeah, somebody, hey, Jason's got a swig here, and I was like, this thing is cool. I hung on to it for about a week, and then I shipped it out to you. But yeah, it was an awesome little swig.
Yeah, he was fun. I did the Superman last year. I did a Batman to compliment him this year. So
I didn't see your Batman. I didn't make it to the swig thing. Don't tell Terrence. I didn't make it to the swig thing. I decided to do a table this year, and it took way more time, effort, and energy than I had anticipated.
You were busy.
I was so busy. And then I barely got time to visit and hang out with anybody. I was just anyways. How was your time? So I asked you, did you have a plan like this year for?
I had a better plan than last year. Last year I didn't know what to expect, and it was a little bit overwhelming, and I thought I was prepared. I had watched all the shows with all the tips, and I thought I was prepared last year. This year I had a plan. There was certainly some customizers that I wanted to see, like,
yes,
and hopefully get something from. But my plan was actually just to take it all in and just take my time, and as things happen, I wasn't going to rush anything. I wasn't going to, wait in any long lines. I didn't even, for the armory experience, I purposely didn't look at the configurator with all the parts on it, because I didn't want to start obsessing about, I got to get in line. I'm going to miss this part. I never even looked. So I figured when I got there, I'll get in there, and whatever's there, I'll make some.
That's a good strategy. That way you're not like disappointed. Like, I really wanted those, I really wanted that helmet and I didn't get it,
Yeah, some of the parts I didn't even realize until later on, seeing guys posting the Cabal about some of the parts that were so hot. I didn't even, realize they were there. So no disappointment from there. I was super happy with what I did. So
That's a good strategy. I might try that next year.
but yeah, my plan was actually this year just to kind of take it easy and come what may, and whatever I was supposed to find, I'd find, and it all worked out. I had a great time.
Good. Yeah, I think I saw you. Was it you and your wife this year?
Well, my girlfriend, yeah.
Your girlfriend. Yeah, I remember you guys walking around and seeing you, and you were relaxed, man. You had a look of,
I
not
was
bad.
like, I was so happy. It was like, it's hard to compare it to any other situation like that. I was just like among my people and among
Mhm,
things that I love, and yeah, I was very relaxed. Had a great time. She's a great travel partner and puts up with this stuff and
mhm.
very supportive. So yeah, we had a great time.
Good, good, good. Did you guys get to visit anywhere other than the con?
We weren't supposed to, but our flight got canceled, so we ended up driving home, back to Michigan
Oh wow.
unexpectedly and on Friday night. So other than, we got to visit a hotel in Pennsylvania, and so, but no, we didn't go anywhere else. We just flew in on Thursday afternoon, went right to the hotel, checked in, went to Wegmans, and got some lunch and breakfast
Hmm.
stuff, and we didn't leave again until we had to leave on Sunday. So
That's the way to do it.
yeah,
Yeah, usually I'll pack some stuff. I'll bring some sandwich stuff and stuff to drink,
yeah,
and just try to stay at the hotel and just see everybody and spend as much time as possible.
yeah. We had planned on going to on at least two of the nights we were going to go out to a restaurant. We had picked out a couple of restaurants we were going to go to, and we went to I forget the name of the restaurant inside the hotel, but we ate there on Thursday, and we were looking at the menu, and so there's enough options here that
Hmm.
we can mix it up and just why don't we just
For
stay
sure.
here? So yeah, we never ended up leaving.
There you go.
Yeah,
There you go. Yeah. Yeah, it was a good time. Um yeah, I think next year I'm gonna try like you and just kind of coast and enjoy and try to see everyone and look at all the vendor stuff, because I just felt like I was just all over the place, and
it's
I
hard
want to
managing a table
soak
and
it in.
doing. It's hard managing a table and then also trying to experience a show. So
Mm,
I completely understand that.
yeah, I thought it'd be fun to have like, like a mini headquarters where you could kind of, sell some stuff and meet some people and, see the
Yeah.
traffic going by. But I don't know. I guess I didn't expect it to be. I don't know what I expected.
Well,
I
you have a
just
base of operations, so that's always good. You buy
Right.
stuff, you can put it under your table, you don't have to drag it around. So you had that going for you too.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. But yeah, it was awesome. It was a great. How would you rate this one? How would you compare this one to last year's?
I love both of them. This year was better for me because last year was such an unknown to me. I did not
Mhm.
know what to expect. We don't really have toy cons like that. I live in, Metro Detroit,
Right.
and we don't have big toy conventions. We don't, even close to here. They have little small, toy
Hmm.
shows, which are mostly vintage type things at BFW halls and whatnot. We have a Motor City Comic Con twice a year, which is a gigantic convention, but it's very small as far as the stuff that we're
Hmm.
into. So I didn't know what to expect, and it was actually pretty overwhelming last year. Going in there because I didn't know anybody.
Hmm.
I feel like people because I see some of you guys quite a bit on
Right.
YouTube, but I didn't know anybody other than I had met Travis from My Wife Is Going to Kill Me a few times,
Hmm.
set up at Motor City. So I was a little bit overwhelmed. I didn't know anybody. I had a blast. I had a ball. I'd never been to New Jersey before. So this year I was for me, it was even better. So I knew what to expect. I kind of knew what I wanted to do. I didn't lose my mind quite as much. I didn't like last year. I kind of overbought. This year, I still
I
overbought, but
did.
maybe not
I did that too. Yeah.
because I didn't know when I first went. When we went last year, we had talked beforehand. I was like, do everything I want to do because I don't know if I'm ever going to come back.
Right.
This might be a one-off. I traveled out of town to go to a toy show, so
Hmm.
didn't know. Um, I knew after about 2 hours of being there last year that, yeah, we're coming back, but um, still wasn't for certain. So this year it was lot more enjoyable. I knew some people, even very casually, recognized people, and the
Right.
whole thing wasn't foreign. I understood the whole vibe of the show better.
Right.
Run around trying to find the good deals because they're going to be gone, and if you don't get them right away, all the stuff's going to be gone. Well, that's not the case, and yeah, this year was, let's say, it was a better show, but personally, it was a better show for me.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like I said, I remember seeing you at this show, and you looked very relaxed and looked like you guys were having a good time. And
Oh yeah,
I think people that haven't gone to Legion's Con before, I don't think that they grasp, because it's so not like other toy shows. Like, I've never been to another toy show and then when it's over, I'm hanging out in the lobby.
right, yeah. You
You
just
know
kind
what
of
I
want
mean?
to go, yeah,
It's like I'm usually going home, or I'm going to my room and having some food and going to bed, or watching cable, or going to the hot tub or whatever. But here it's like it's a social event.
yeah,
You meet up with the people that you connected with last year, or the people that you connected with during the between cons, and you're seeing them again, or you're hanging out, or you bring your partner and you enjoy a good meal, and hang out in the lobby and meet some new people, or reconnect with people that you were friends with you know throughout the years. So it's a big social event.
yeah, yeah. Definitely, I definitely can see that. It is amazing to me to see the socializing that goes on there all the time. I mean, even in the middle of the show, there's guys hanging out in the lobby, just sitting in the chairs and shooting the breeze about
Yeah.
whatever. So all day long we walk. Even when we walked in on Thursday, the lobby was full, and we went to Wegmans and came back. It was even more full, and
Yeah,
it was
it's
just a real
crazy.
good vibe. A lot of laughing and just smiling faces, and
Yeah,
yeah,
it's like
it's
a big
very cool.
party,
Yeah.
but like a good natured fun party.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There's not that jerk that
Yeah.
comes in and is drunk and acting like an idiot.
Yeah. Right.
It's just a cool vibe. Did you guys get to hang out in the lobby, or go to the fire pit, or do any kind of
No, not
hanging out?
really. I did hang out in the lobby, briefly here and there when, just taking a break from the show or whatever, and
Hmm.
you know, talked to a few people here and there. I went to the My Wife Is Gonna Kill Me
Hmm.
show. So I did do that. That was quite a trip. I went last year too. So
See,
once
I missed it. I
oh,
had talked to Pete, and he's like, "You're gonna be there," and I'm like, "Yeah, for sure." And I was busy with the damn table.
yeah,
I had to find, in the hallway, you had to put the stuff, put it all back, and then you have to stow it somewhere. So I was like, where are we going to put all this junk? And so it took a few hours just to get things, handled and put away. And the show had already started, and I was freaking tired. So I was like,
yeah,
I'm not going to make it. But
yeah. That's the thing too. Like, by the end of the day, I was tired,
yeah,
walking the show, and it's not a big show, but you're on your feet and you're just
yeah,
constantly doing the circuit and walking around and
yes,
walking around. And by the time
yeah,
the day's over, it's like, yeah, I'm tired.
yeah. Did you bring something to carry? Like, did you bring a backpack or a bag to
I had
carry?
bags. Yeah, I had, like those big, I ended up getting one of a couple of the horseman bags, but
Those bags were great.
yeah, I came prepared. I had a couple, similar bags, but as soon as I got the cool horseman
Yeah,
bag, I discarded mine and carried those around. So that helped.
for
I didn't
sure.
want to carry a backpack around just because, I mean, the aisles are already crowded enough. I'm a big
Knocking
dude, and
people
having a
over.
backpack on me that's an accident waiting to happen. I could just see the
Right.
figures, get knocked over. So,
Yeah, last year I had brought an IKEA bag. I don't know if
oh
you've ever
yeah,
been to IKEA, but they've got these big
oh
bags that
yeah,
unfold, big canvas type of bag, and I had brought a couple. They're like $4 at IKEA, and so I bought a stack of them and gave them out to friends, just to
it helps.
yeah, for sure, for sure. So, how did you get into this line? Like, what was your introduction to Mythics?
I, you know, I I'm kind of a relatively newcomer as an adult collector, so I would watch YouTube videos here and there, and I remember several years ago, something came across my YouTube feed, and I believe it was either Steve or Travis's collection from the My Wife Is Going to Kill Me, and they were showing off their collection. I remember thinking, oh, those are really cool, but there's already so many of them, and I'm not collecting toys, but they're super cool. So I
Mhm.
was aware of them, but wasn't collecting them or anything. And then I don't know, a couple of years ago, I randomly found a DC Multiverse Superman at a Target, like not put in the right spot. I was shopping for deodorant or something. It was sitting there. I'm like, man, this is cool. I'm going to buy this. So I bought it, and then my brain started like, man, this is really cool. So I started buying those, the DC figures, and started looking around, where can I find them, and started watching YouTube videos, toy hunt videos and stuff. And
Mhm.
every once in a while, a couple of the guys, they might mention, oh yeah, I can get this part. This would look really good with the Mythic Legion on some figure I'm going to customize. And what? And I kept hearing it again. I watched the
Mhm.
Nolan Collects videos and some of the other ones, and so I became more aware of them. So my interest was kind of piqued, but I didn't really know where to get them either. And looked on eBay. I figured I could buy them on eBay, but I wanted to hold one in my hand before I bought one.
Right.
And I didn't realize it, but there was a toy shop that had been open for probably 6 months at that point. Maybe, I mean, they're 10 or 15 minutes away from me, the Sergeant Reds that we
Mhm.
talked about. And I would go in there and buy the DC figures, and I saw him hang, he had some Mythics hanging on the shelf, and I didn't really pay much attention to him. And every time I go in there, I kind of peek at him a little bit more. And one day I was kind of bored. There was nothing in there that I wanted, and I'm like, I'm gonna buy a couple of these. So that's what happened. I bought a couple, two figures from him, and brought them home. And I opened them up, and I'm like, oh man, I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble. These are awesome.
Remember? Do you
For
remember which ones were they? Do you remember?
the original Scaphoid, the first one, and
Okay.
then the Xylernian Guard. Those are my
Oh,
first.
okay. Those are good starters.
Yeah, those were my first two, and I'm like, man, these are great. And it was like a Thursday. And I was off work, and he had more. I think he had whatever wave Torian was in.
Mhm.
He had everything after that because he's a retailer, which I learned, as I went, that there's actually retailers. So I went back the next day and I bought a handful more, and then that was kind of it. I found the Cabal, and that kind of got me rolling in it.
Yeah, that Sergeant Reds is I had just started, and like you, like I didn't know where to get the figures. Like we're so used to being able to go to like a department store, a toy store, Toys R Us when we're younger. Um, but like Mythics, like I'd never seen them before. I had heard people mention them, or like you said, on YouTube shows and stuff like that. But I had a friend that would talk about them all the time, and I'm like, I don't know where these figures are. I've never, and like you, I didn't want to buy one and not hold it first or check it out, like sight unseen. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna, So I was kind of cautious about that, and my friend had sent me one, and so that kind of had set me on that path. But it was kind of elusive at first. Like I was like, I don't know where to find these at, and I guess I never really checked Big Bad Toy Store. I think at the time there was not a lot available, and then I think the reinforcements came out, and that reinforcements two, I think, and that had kind of opened my eyes to like, oh man, there's a lot of options here.
yeah.
So what drew you to the Xylernian and Scaphoid?
Honestly, I don't remember other than I thought the colors schemes were cool,
Mm-hmm.
and he had, there was knights and gladiators and stuff and
Mm-hmm.
skeletons. And I'm like, man, I don't know where to start, but these guys look cool. The colors were cool, and I think that was probably it, especially Scaphoid. I've never seen anything like
Yes.
that before, so I was like, yeah, I'm gonna start with these two. And the Xylernian Guard it's got two heads, I think. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, the green elf head or whatever in there, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen anything like this before. But I think that's what drew me to them. They were familiar but different enough, with the design. So
So were you into like action figures before? Like, did you collect them as a kid?
Yeah, so I'm an '80s kid, so I was like the right time for Star Wars was the first thing that I got
Huge.
into, and that was every Christmas and birthday for years until Jedi was done, and even the last few that came out. That was my thing with Star Wars, but also
Mhm.
GI Joe was a huge thing I got into, and then Motu. I was pretty big into Master Universe, which was funny because I remember sitting here in my office when I was opening maybe the second round of Mythics I got, and I was like, man, I remember the feeling when I was 7 or 8 when I first got the Motu figures. My grandma bought me like 3 or 4 of them, and we have saw them at Toys R Us, and I got them home. And I remember the coolness and the what is this and what is this world,
Mhm.
and the fantasy size. They were different scale than GI Joe and Star Wars. They were a little bit bigger and
Completely
chunkier,
different.
and I just remember it brought back that feeling that God, that's 40 some years ago. So
Mhm.
um, yeah, yeah, I collected as a child, and other lines. Those were my main 3 lines, but I had figures from all sorts of lines. I didn't do a lot of Transformers or things like that, but totally a huge action figure collector as a kid. And as a lot of people do, I kind of started getting a little bit older, got into junior high, and discovered other things, and
Mhm.
and started being as kind of a sports fan, and so just kind of got away from it. But I always liked it. I'd always like look at them at the toy store. I'd pop
I
in.
did too.
I was at the mall. I was walking through KB just to see what was there. If I was, I was bored and I was near Toys R Us, I would stop
Mhm.
and look around, and always was interested in it. But I just didn't. There was a long period of my life where I didn't collect them at all.
Yeah, I kind of went through that phase too. I've talked with a lot of collectors that were, big in 80s toys. That was a great time for us. And then, the 90s, it kind of fell off, and there wasn't a lot that would really grab us. A lot of people, saw the McFarlane, the Spawn stuff. For me, it was the Japanese anime Akira. The McFarlane had made a toy line of Akira toys, and it was the red motorcycle and Kaneda and Tetsuo, and I loved that movie as a kid. And so when I saw those, like I like you, I had browsed toy stores, but there was nothing really that really compelled me, to like pick something up. And when I saw that red motorcycle, I was just like, whoa. And it made me like, because when you're a kid and you see Star Wars, like they were so smart to have merchandise. Like I'd never really been subjected to that kind of, child manipulation where it's like you see this amazing movie and you want to reenact it at home. You want to be able to, they had lightsabers that you could. I remember me and my sister, my dad bought them, they made sounds or they
Oh yeah,
glowed or whatever. They would light up. My friend had one that was a flashlight and it glowed or it lit up. But it was so smart that they had this merchandise that, you could go and buy these action figures and take them home and reenact, all these adventures and stuff. That was just so damn smart on their part to have that, you know?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I just think we were very lucky as kids of the '80s of kind of being at the dawn of action figures and IPs from
Mhm.
movies and cartoons and all that stuff, and I feel very lucky for that, to be honest. I mean, it made for a lot of great memories as a kid, but also like
Absolutely.
Christmas or your birthday or something, and just memories of my mom or dad taking me to the toy store, and I'm standing in Toys R Us and seeing just the wall of Star Wars figures from, like, to me it seemed from the roof to the floor. So
It was amazing.
yeah,
And the next row over was GI Joe,
yeah,
and it
yeah,
was just a wall of like every figure of Star Wars, every spaceship, new ones, old ones, ones I've never seen before. I'm like,
Yeah.
geez, it's incredible. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Now, things sold out, or, go to Target and there's, hardly anything there. Or
Yeah. I worry, or not worry, but I wonder what it's going to be like when, the kids of now are our age. Like, are they even collecting this stuff?
I don't
Are
think
they going
so.
to have memories like we do? Because collecting for a kid to buy things off the shelf is pretty hard, because there is,
Yeah.
like you said, the shelves are always picked over, and there are certain figures that are hard to find. You're never going to find them. I can imagine it gets pretty disappointing for a kid, if
Oh,
they're
for
into
sure.
something and they just can't find it. And, it's unfortunate, but yeah, I think we are very, very lucky for the
It,
times
it
we
was
grew up
it
in.
was a great age for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, I've talked with a few friends about collecting in the future, and I just don't see it. Like, I don't see as many. I mean, kids still love toys. I'm not saying that, but I don't see young people transitioning, like, to being collectors of our age. Like, what is it that gets them to watch a program and then go out and buy the merchandise to that? Like,
Yeah.
I don't see that connection these days. I don't see, like, Power Rangers was huge. I was too old for that, but people would watch the show, kids would watch the show, and then they would want to, go buy the toys. Or Ninja Turtles. That was another thing. People would watch the cartoon and then they would want to buy the toys and stuff. But I don't see that for these days, or I don't see young kids, it's more tablet, it's more phones and things like that. Maybe even video games, but not as much like the cartoons and stuff like that of our age.
Yeah, and I think there's so much content out there, and it's 24/7. And
Mhm.
like, we had limited content, so like GI Joe was on at 3 o'clock when we got home from school. There wasn't like, you couldn't just watch it anytime you wanted.
Right,
There wasn't. Well, I don't want to watch GI Joe right now. I'll watch one of
right. We had to
hundreds
be
of other
there.
shows.
We had to
That
be
was,
there.
yeah, he had to be there. So
Yeah.
there's lots of options where we, boys our age or girls our age, we had limited options, so we liked the same things.
Mhm.
We liked GI Joe, or we liked Transformers or He Man, because that was what was out there. So
Yeah.
now I think there's just so many options for kids.
Yeah. Maybe it's a good thing that they're not, stuck at 3 p.m. every day, or
Yeah,
3:30,
yeah,
glued to their chair waiting for, He-Man, or, Transformers, or Thundercats, or whatever. I don't know. I don't know. But I'm grateful that I was around for that time. It's good stuff.
absolutely.
Yeah, Masters was a weird, well, not weird. I loved the melding of like the fantasy and the sci-fi. Like, it was kind of barbarians, but then they had spaceships that they would fly around in,
Yeah,
but also
creatures.
had like creatures that would, it was just a
Yeah,
weird kind of melding of different types of genres, and I thought that was kind of interesting.
yeah, with the magic, and it definitely it was wonderful for the imagination.
For sure, for sure. So what was it that kind of, so after after you stopped collecting, what was it that made you come back? Was that when you saw the Superman? Was it that recent, or
It was
had you
pretty
kind
recent. So I've been a collector of something since I was a kid.
of,
So action figures, and then as I kind of aged out, I got into baseball cards and hockey cards, and
okay,
did that for a long time. So collecting is something that I enjoy doing, and I kind of got away from that, and then when I was kind of concentrating on my career and stuff, I think that collecting of anything, kind of went by the wayside, and my career and personal life, and stuff like that. And then I don't know, about 15 years ago, I started going to estate sales, kind of out of
mhm,
boredom, and I had an odd schedule at work where I worked weekends, I had weekdays off, so looking for something to do and going to estate sales. And I actually discovered vintage militaria, like World War II items, and like, oh, I didn't realize you could actually find this stuff at an estate sale. I didn't know that people didn't keep this stuff. So I got into that and I started kind of collecting that um, pretty heavily at a pretty good clip and a pretty good pace, and built up a decent collection. And ultimately, it turned into a business. I started selling it too. I started buying and selling it.
Really?
I was funding my collection by selling it, and for a short time, I had a partner. We had a little shop here in Michigan, um, about 20 minutes from where I live, and we did that on the side, and apart from my regular job, and doing that. And yeah, I started kind of getting a little bit burned out. I was doing shows every weekend, or at least every other weekend. I was traveling and kind of getting burned out a bit with the whole hustle and trying to balance collecting
Hmm.
and being a dealer too. And so just kind of started getting burned out. I'm like, I don't know if I want to keep collecting this like I am. Maybe just concentrate on being a dealer part of it and separate the collecting, because I need for me, I need some sort of enjoyment out of the collecting.
Right.
I collect because I enjoy it and I want to,
Yes.
get joy out of it. And I wasn't getting that anymore. I had things, but it didn't give me a joy of getting it home and putting it out and looking at it and sitting back and just being surrounded by my stuff.
Hmm.
And so I kind of stepped away from that for a little bit and decided, all right, I'm just gonna concentrate on the dealing part of that, and still doing shows and dial that back a little bit. But I had this collecting itch. I still wanted to collect. I needed to collect something, I think. Just how my brain operates, how it's wired. I like the looking for stuff and seeing new
Hmm.
things. And yeah, I because I've always been enjoyed looking at this stuff, and I took that plunge and I bought that Superman figure, which is my all-time favorite superhero. That's why I bought it. It had to be Superman to do it, or I don't think I would have bought an
Right.
Aquaman. Would have been an Aquaman or even a Batman. It had to be Superman because that's always been
Yes.
my favorite.
It was meant to be.
It was. I really think so. So that kind of like triggered something and in my brain, and I started buying. I bought a few more, and I started kind of looking up what else is out there, because this makes me feel good. I'm really enjoying this collecting and putting these on my desk or my shelf and sitting back and like
It's
admiring them.
fun.
And so that's kind of what brought me back, and I have enjoyed it the hell out of it ever since.
Hmm.
It makes me happy. I rearrange this office that I'm in now. It's completely mythic all the way around, including the art on the walls. And before it was, very let's say like academic, but I had books in here that I wasn't going to read. They were books, but I thought you're supposed to have books in here. I'm an adult, so
Right.
you're supposed to have books in your office, and you're supposed to have these like vintage, paintings on the wall, and that's supposed to be clean or have office type stuff in there. But um, I never came in here. I never was in here. I didn't. If I had to, I would, because I do online sales with other things, and
Hmm.
so if I had to, if I was forced to, I would sit in here and do it. But when I was done, I was out. So once I started buying these, the action figures, I started kind of placing them around my office, and I found that, hey, I want to be in here more. I like
Hmm.
being around my stuff. I like to just sit back and admire what some of this stuff was. And I did kind of, as I grew my collection and I got more, I started filling my office out, and I'm like, I took all the regular people stuff out, and I started filling it with yeah, exactly, filling it with comic artwork, because I wasn't big into the comic. I love comic book cover art.
I
um
do too.
yeah, I love the comic book cover art. I was
What's
a
a few of your favorite artists?
I don't know if I could tell you which ones are which. I
Oh,
really
okay.
enjoy the 60s and 70s comic book covers.
Me too.
So
Yeah.
that's what I like. And I was always an art student all through high school and
Hmm.
beginning of even in college a bit. So I could appreciate that and the colors, and it's made me feel good. So I
Right.
redecorated my office, and I found I was in here quite
A
a bit
lot
more. I
more.
was actually more productive because I'd want to sit in here and work and do work online or whatever. And um, yeah, and it just kind of blossomed from there. And I started adding a couple Mythic Legions. I had a little corner with some Mythics in the corner, and they started spreading out. And eventually I'm like, all right, I got to make a decision. Some other stuff's either going to have to go or it's going to have to move. I have a basement, so work area in the basement too. So eventually, after Legions Con last year, I moved all the non-Mythic stuff out and moved it into a kind of a display space I have in the basement where I also do some work. And so I have 2 work areas, and because I have an eBay business, so that's downstairs where I do a lot of my photography or my shipping station, and I have some inventory down there, and but I've surrounded myself with this kind of stuff too, so it makes it enjoyable, and I realize how much I like being around it. It makes me happy, makes me smile. I can sit back sometimes and just take a break from whatever I'm doing, and this is really cool stuff, and kind of I can feel my imagination kind of going out there like it did when I was a kid. So it's been a fun journey.
Yeah, I do that too. And it's all, like you said, it's the word fun.
Yeah.
It's got to be fun. If it becomes stressful, if it becomes, work, if it becomes an event, it's not fun anymore,
Yeah,
and
that's it. Exactly.
Yeah, there's something about surrounding ourselves with stuff that makes us happy. We need that chamber of, just something that makes us happy, that brings us joy. That way we can, push out the, reality, or, how harsh things can be, or, reality of, depressing things, and just, have a room that's ours. I look at this Adam West mask, and it just makes me happy. It just gives me, and there's a connection with nostalgia. I think there's a connection with us being kids again, and just feeling that excitement over the things that made us happy as kids, that kind of simple feeling, and to go into your office now, it's not, your mind is not thinking about, it's not, maybe not thinking about work as much, or it's your mind is in a better place, so it's okay to work.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And it's funny because I sometimes I will sit back and kind of like do like some introspection and think about like, how did I get here and why do I enjoy this so much?
I do that too.
And like what happened? So one of the things that I self-realization I had was I don't think when I stopped collecting toys as a kid, I was really ready to stop collecting toys. I think it was because kids that age, my friends, were not. They were getting to other things. So I felt like I kind of have to too, but I don't think I was ready. And I don't know if I, ever would have been ready, but I didn't have, you're a kid, you go along with what the other kids are doing. And so I think that's why I fallen back in love with it again, was like, my way to kind of touch my childhood again. And,
right. And sometimes there's pressure. Like I've talked to people on this show about the pressure that we had as kids to kind of grow up.
Yeah.
Like sometimes our parents, or like I was raised by my grandparents, and, when I was a kid, it was okay to buy me a toy. But, when I'm 11 or 12, it's like, what do you need those for? Like, that's silly. You don't need to collect that stuff. So there was kind of that pressure of, that's a child thing. And like you said, you're not ready. And maybe that's what it was. Like, I remember I went to my dad's for the summer. When I came back, my grandma had sold all of my superpowers, all my Star Wars, all of my, G.I. Joes, everything. The stuff that I'd taken with me was all that I had. And it just like, I don't know, traumatized might not be the right word, but it was like, I cultivated this stuff. Like, this stuff made me happy. This stuff was part of growing up and sharing it with my friends at school and at home or whatever. We would go and play. Like it was part of my childhood, and to lose it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think cultivating is a good word for it too, because I
Mhm.
think that as kids, like we're very intentional on what we want. And we don't, as kids, I don't think we have that brain yet where we're just,
Right.
sometimes happens where, oh, I have to get it because it's the new one. So I have to get, the latest or greatest. I think even for me, like I never had every Star Wars figure. I never
Right.
had every GI Joe. I had the ones that I wanted, the
Yes.
ones that I wanted to play with, or the characters I enjoyed from the movies or the TV show. So like it was a very, for me, it was very like a personal, very select collection. So I, and then there's memories attached to it because I
Right.
remember getting that. So you look at it and I can remember the Christmas morning I got it and how happy I was and how happy it made me feel, or who gave it to me. And,
Hmm.
the connection of, people who aren't with us anymore. Like I got that from my grandma and she gave that,
Yes.
she went and she had to go buy that, grandma standing in Toys R Us, picking out,
Right.
looking at a list that I wrote, trying to figure out which these 3 Star Wars bounty hunters that I wanted and making
Hmm.
sure they always got the right ones. So they had to be very intentional, and it wasn't just to me, it was never random.
Right.
It had a very, personal like connection to it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
The
And that's
stuff.
kind of what I do now. Like I don't, I think I buy all the Mythics now because I love all of them as they come out. But other lines that I collect, I pick and choose. It's not like
Right.
I'm gonna get them just because that's the latest one that Mezco put out. So I got to get it because I got to get all the Mezco 112s. Like, no, I'm just going to buy the ones I like that I feel like I got some sort of connection or
Right.
a desire
That speak
for.
to you.
Yeah, speak to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I do that too. It means more to me, because like you said, when I was a kid, each figure I had, it wasn't easily come by. So, they all meant something. They were all my favorites. I loved all of them, the ones that I had.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's kind of how it is now. And like you said with Mythics, I love the stuff that they make. I don't feel the need to buy everything, but I love everything that they
Right.
make, you
Right.
know. And it turns out that I buy most of most of what they make, and it's not intentional. It's not like I hate something that you know that they make, and I don't buy it, but I don't feel compelled to buy everything. But I just I love their engineering. I love the themes and the variety. There's something for everyone in that toy line,
Yeah.
and it makes me happy.
Yeah. Me too. And it's, other things. And I think about what drew me to this line too is, when I don't collect the DC multiverse. In fact, I sold probably the majority of the ones I had. I have a handful still,
Still
but
got your Superman though, right?
oh, of course I had the Superman. Of
Okay.
all the Supermans I ever bought, yeah, I can't do that. And I have some others, but I did get rid of most of them. But those are characters that I know.
Hmm.
I know characters. I do buy some GI Joes and I buy some Star Wars characters that I know. But what I love about the mythic and the cosmic and lines is that this is a brand new imagination. That we're getting to see. We're getting to see the
Hmm.
Horsemen's imagination and their story. So I like that. It's something new to me. That's like there's nothing out. It's not coming off a movie or a cartoon, but there's a story and there's a lore to all of
Right.
this that I'm getting to kind of learn as they release them and they come out. So it I think I tap into that imagination that like our childhood imagination and which then leads into the other part of tapping into my own imagination with the customizing part of it, which I
Hmm.
never in a million years would have ever saw myself in anywhere painting an action figure. But now it's two things. It's their imagination, and then I can take that and then I can use my own imagination and make something different. So kind of blends it. And it's another thing that I love so much about the line.
Yeah, it's a fun way to be creative and to relax.
Yeah, yeah,
You know, you just grab something and you just start painting it, and you don't have to worry about what other people are thinking of it, or make
yeah,
it for yourself or customize something and put it on your shelf. It's I don't know, it's a fun outlet.
yeah. It absolutely is. Yeah, I'll sit in here and I'll start painting and things as the custom that I'm making evolves because it kind of changes. It never really
Mhm.
ends up the way I intend to when I'm starting, but I feel like I lose time. I'm just sitting there painting, and like my brain can actually kind of take a break, and
Yes.
it's a nice stress reliever. So for me, and I will sit in here for hours and not even realize that I've been in here as long as I was, which has actually been very wonderful.
Kind of makes you wonder how people uh how they get by without having that,
Yeah, I
you
wonder
know.
how I got by without having it.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I just started getting into painting. I will hop on the customizing studio on Sundays and just hang out. Like we don't have to talk, we don't have to say anything to each other. But it's just other people just kind of coming together and painting. And it's almost like we're in a room. It's almost like being in art class again, where everyone is, doing their own little thing and enjoying, just being creative together. Um,
Yeah, I popped in there. It's been a while since I've been able. I normally work on Sundays, so it's been a bit, but I've popped in there a few times, and I don't think I've said a word. I just kind of, sit there and listen to people talk, or
yeah.
tell maybe somebody will say what they're doing, and it does. I didn't think about that, but it does kind of remind me of being back in art
Mhm.
class in 12th grade when we were all sitting there working on some project together and a little
Yeah.
bit of chatter going on. Maybe that's why I enjoy it so much too. Is when I am able to pop in there.
Yeah. It's a safe space.
Yeah, that's
And
yeah.
I think I'm a creative person, and I just love to see other people's creativity,
Oh yeah,
you
the
know.
minds of the imaginations that people have and what they can do with some of these things. I'm like, where did that even come from?
Yeah.
So amazing. So
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And I think Eric Treadaway totally has tapped into, this incredible creative gold mine of, his, that I think there's a lot of, maybe familiarity in some of his stuff, that maybe we've seen it before, but like maybe growing up, or, like what boy didn't want to be a knight and have swords and, and have adventures and fight orcs or goblins or
right.
dragons or whatever, and so I think this toy line is perfect in that sense, to where it just really encapsulates in a 6 or 7 inch figure, our imagination, and makes us feel like kids again.
Yeah, yeah, that's been a wonderful part about it is kind of feeling like a kid again and just being able to be a little bit carefree
Mhm.
and just to enjoy something just to enjoy it that doesn't hurt anybody, doesn't hurt anything. It gives you joy. It doesn't get in the way. It's a pretty amazing thing that they have put out there in this collecting world for us.
Absolutely. And there's a great community with so many amazing people, and you have the whole, you said you went to Legion's Con and wanted to see the different vendors and people selling stuff, like it's a whole industry
Yeah,
of people, you know not feeding off of, Eric's creativity, but being inspired, I think, by it, and wanting to, make stuff based off of, his amazing creations and designs. And, I think it's amazing.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And you know, I do, I have a few customs that I bought from there, and they're some of my favorite. figures in my collection are these customs that I bought from there.
Mhm.
And they're so much, almost so much different than what the Mythics, the Horsemen are putting out, but the reimagining of the parts and additions of,
Mhm.
like, I big fan of Arthas. I have, I think, 6 of his, I think, from the last
Oh
2 years,
wow.
and 6 or 5 or something like that. But the creative use of some of the things that he uses on
Mhm.
on the figures, it just kind of blows my mind. I look at it, I'm like, how did he even think of that? Like,
Right.
how did he look at that stuff in the store or online or wherever he got it and think, I could do this and it's going to work on a mythic body, and I can make something beautiful with it, and it does. It's amazing what people are able to do, and the
Absolutely.
Horsemen promote it, and they allow that
Yeah.
creativity from these artists and the 3D printers and the customizers and stuff, and that they actually advocate and promote them to do that. I think that's genius. It gets us all to keep buying more of their figures, and
Right.
do customizing, but also because their figures are awesome. And I think it was pretty amazing in the community of people. It really is mind blowing when, like, walking around Legion's Con or being on the Cabal or some of the other shows, like, from all walks of life. Like, people do all sorts of different things or have different beliefs or come
Mhm.
from different pace
Yes.
spaces or different countries or whatever. And you're there, and it's like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We're all there because you know, we love the line and the community and stuff. And it's, I've never experienced anything like that. And like I said, I'm a veteran of many collector shows, but not toy shows or comic shows, and I have never ever seen anything like what I see at
I've
Legion's Con
neither.
with the fans and the collectors and the community, and it's real. I don't know if you can understand it unless you actually see it and you
Right.
experience it, but it's a pretty amazing thing to witness.
I totally agree. Yeah, I totally agree. Like I loved the figures, and I mean I could have been happy with that, but I don't know. I just getting to know people in the community, and going to Legion's Con for the first time, it was overwhelming. I didn't know. I mean, I knew some of the people, but I didn't know them, and just to be embraced, and to be part of that community, and have so many friends, and be welcomed, and just go to an amazing show in New Jersey, which, like you said, I never thought I would be there.
Yeah,
It was totally like, you're going to New Jersey for what? But it was worth the trip for sure. Um,
yeah,
and
yeah. I'm so glad that I went in
mhm,
24, because it's funny. In 20, I started collecting Mythic Legions in early winter of 23.
mhm,
And I think it was like March or February I had got them. And that May, Motor City Comic Con here in Michigan went on. And that's where I met Travis and Kyle. And they had their booth set up. And I bought some figures from them. And they were so nice and fun. And they
yes,
were such advocates of the line. It was so different to me, because they wanted me to buy stuff, but they weren't trying to hustle me because they were trying to get, oh, buy my stuff, buy my stuff.
right,
They were selling the line, and they were selling the whole idea of it. And I was still so new to it. I was a little bit apprehensive of, like, all right, what really is this all about? Is
yeah,
there really that much to it? And as time went on, I started realizing I was on the Cabal, and I had joined and participate here and there. And they do Motor City twice a year, so they do it in May and like October or November. So November of 23 we went, and my girlfriend asked me, "Oh, are the guys going to be here with the figures, the Mythics?" And I said, "No." I said, "They're actually at a thing called Legion's Con. They have their own convention out in New Jersey, and that's all they do there. There's customizers, and there's the studios there. They host it, and She's like, oh, well, why aren't we there? And it hadn't even dawned on me at that point
Mm-hmm.
that to even think that that's something that I would go to, that I would travel 600 miles to go to a small
Right.
toy show. I hadn't even considered it. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. She's like, well, we should go. I'm like, okay. So, that's how I ended up there. And I would have never pictured myself doing that and going out there, but so glad that I did.
Yeah,
And
it's like a leap of faith.
yeah, because in
Yeah.
part of me was like, do I really want to go to a show? I've been to so many shows, and yeah, they can be fun, but they can be stressful. And
Mm-hmm.
is it worth traveling 600 miles? Because we flew, so it wasn't going to be cheap either. Is it going to be worth it? And it certainly was, but I don't know if you can fully comprehend it until you go and you step foot in there and you see what
Exactly.
it is. And
I
you
agree.
can actually feel the energy of the positivity of the people around there and
Absolutely.
just the environment. So, yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree. I sure appreciate you being on. I know we've been kind of like phone tag,
Yeah.
wanting to have you on. I apologize. It is my fault.
Nah, no worries. Like I said, I have a pretty wonky schedule, so
Been busy, but I appreciate our conversation. And I'm also like I love talking about collecting and why we collect. That's one of my favorite topics, and I think we've kind of figured out, what it is about it that makes us collect, especially this line. There's a lot of things that kind of culminate, but um, it all comes down to fun and great figures and a great community. So I'm glad
absolutely.
that you're part of this. And
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on and inviting me on, and it was nice to chat with you this year at Legion's Con. I felt
yeah,
more comfortable this year. Last year was still nervous to talk to people.
for sure.
This year I felt more comfortable and actually made it like I was very intentional about it this year. I'm like I'm gonna talk to people more. I'm gonna try to put myself out there a little bit more, and I'm glad we got a chance to talk. So
Yeah.
and
Yeah. It's not easy, like especially if you feel like you don't know anyone. So like everyone's first, I think, Legion's Con is kind of like you don't know what to expect. You don't really know anyone. You might know one person and there's a lot going on. And so I think once you make it past the first one and you have a good time, the second one is like, okay, I get it now.
Yeah.
I understand. I know what to expect. And that's when you really start to have even more fun. But there was a lot more people, I think, at this.
I think so too. I definitely could feel it seemed like there was a lot more people in that show hall or showroom. It filled up really fast.
It did.
And I mean, it was fine. It was fun, but it definitely seemed like everything was a little bit more crowded.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine, every year it's probably going to continue to
every year
fill out even more. So,
yeah.
But I'm glad I discovered it. I'm glad that I went, and I plan on continuing to go for the foreseeable future. So,
absolutely. Yeah. Well, I will see you next year.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you, man. Thank you, Jason. And thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. And we'll see you guys next time. Thank you, Jason. I appreciate you,
man.
Have a good one.
You too.
Remember, friends, to always have fun, be curious, share, and enjoy what this line has to offer. Come for the toys, but stay for the friends. Good night, and thank you very much.